until I was out of town.
And so, because we used to do it Friday night. Right? You know what I'm saying? They did a dance on Friday night, Saturday night, and then a tailgate in front of the school on Sunday.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. And welcome to the cherishes and Tuesday Fourth. Dr. Penn is going to lead us in a word of prayer. We'd like to start off with a prayer, and she's going to lead us in a word of prayer.
Good morning. Good morning. Can we go to him in prayer? Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for today. We give you the honor, the praise, and the glory, for you're worthy to be praised. We thank you for today, for the things we're going to be hearing, the knowledge that we're going to be receiving, and also the knowledge to take it out and spread it to the ones that might need this information, Father. We give you that honor. We praise you for it and stuff. And Father, just in case someone is sick in the room, we just want you to just anoint them from the crowns of their heads to the soles of their feet, and we thank you for it. Without further ado, Lord, we know you're busy, and we don't want to take up any more of your time, because we know we got to do what we got to do in this world in order to live in your light and show you and shine for you. In Jesus' holy name, amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Good morning to our listening audience as well. I am Laura McCready, one of your facilitators for the Tuesday Forum, along with Robert Collins, Gary Young, yay, come on Gary up in here, you're gonna facilitate today. And Natalie McGarrett, Steve Johnston, Dr. Thomas Moore, Shay and Blue, and Carlina Canty Ivory, and Jackie Walton Edwards, who is not with us right now, and Tina Marshall, and Dr. Penn as well. So we'd like to welcome you, and we have a guest this morning that's going to follow up. She has written this book, and I was introduced to her by one of my dear friends, and she said you should have her at Tuesday Forum, and because we are talking about, a couple of weeks ago we talked about wills and trust, and this young lady has lived through the process. And as a result of that, she has written a book that she wants to share with us this morning. And I thought, after speaking with her, I thought it was really interesting, but she did come to me by way of another friend, and I told her we were having a discussion about it in the weeks past. But she has actually lived through, and she's young and had to go through a situation where she said that she wanted to share this information with as many people as she possibly could, and she's written her book. So I'd like for her to come up, Shewonia Roberts, and if I'm mispronouncing your name, you can correct it, but you will have the seating up here by yourself. And the way we facilitate is that we usually start on Tuesday from 8:30 until 10, and we allow you to present, and once you present or talk about what you'd like to share with us this morning, we open the door for questioning. And the people that most of the ones that are in here now, I don't think we have any visitors. No one is here for the first time, right? Everybody's been here. You here for the first time? I thought I recognized you out there in this parking lot. But we normally have visitors coming, and we let everybody know that we are here almost every Tuesday of the year to share information and introduce some to others in the community, but to share the information on things that are going on in the community. So you can introduce yourself, young man.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Alvaro Reyes. I am a staffer for the Congresswoman Adams. So I'm here. Usually my colleague comes, Lawrence Princeton. So I'm here to learn a little bit about the community and about outreach. So Nice to meet everyone.
That's one thing I always do.
Welcome, and please come back. And as I shared with her, when I spoke with her, I said, we never know who's gonna come, but people come in respectfully, Ms. Roberts, and they leave respectfully. And we keep things very orderly. We have a timekeeper, Ms. Natalie McGarrett, and when we give you a time, because we're gonna give you a lot of time this morning. When we give you a time, we ask you to respect her when she shows the time, hold her time card up. Also, with the microphone, make sure that you speak into the microphone because we do have a listening audience. We do live streaming as well as Facebook Live. So we never really know who's watching and who's listening. So with, most of you know this, it's a time for silence. Silence your phone. And if my phone ain't right quick, it's cut off. I haven't silenced my phone yet, but we need to make sure that you silence your phone. Have I covered everything, guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Matthew? Okay, well, so without any further ado, Ms. Roberts, you have at least 10 to 15 minutes to share. If she gives you permission to continue.
Whatever, how long you need to do your presentation. You did, I don't know, you explained to her how the questions, she wouldn't know.
Okay, thank you. We facilitate the question. We recognize individuals that raise their hands, and for those that have questions, first finger goes up. That's who asks the first question most of the time. But this gentleman right here, usually he's going to raise his hand first. So, but anyway, that's how we recognize those, and then we will call on them. We facilitate that. These are some of the other facilitators over here, and once we recognize that person, we take the microphone to them, and we ask them to ask one question. We give them 30 seconds. Sometimes Nathan give them a little bit more than 30 seconds, because a lot of people like to do commentary, so we like to cut that off. But she will hold up her card, when it's time, and then we give you so many minutes to answer the question. So how many minutes we want to give her to answer once we start the questioning?
Well, we wait until we see how it goes.
Okay.
We start getting tight at 9:30, then we usually cut them down.
Yes, because
Cut their answers down to like 2 minutes.
and we do take announcements, so at a quarter of, we will stop to take announcements from the people in the audience, and sometimes we have people that will send information in, text it in for us to make the announcement. So without any further ado, it's with you.
Well, good morning, and thank you for having me. I am really excited to see you guys here this morning, and I am eager to share my story, and I'm hoping that it resonates and makes an impact to you. What I want to start with is, there's a question that I always ask myself, and it's not because someone asked me the question or life asked me the question, it's just because there's this lingering question and it's why are conversations that shape our future often conversations we postpone? So why are conversations about living our best life for the rest of our lives always postponed? And I've been working at AI, and I decided to ask AI, if Oprah had this question, what would she say? And this is what AI told me. As I've gotten older, I have found myself wondering, why are the conversations that matter most often the ones we never have? So then I was like, wow, AI, that's really great. Let's go a little bit further. And I said, what would Dave Chappelle say? Would it be interesting? And he said, have you noticed we would rather tell a complete stranger our medical history than sit down with our own kids for 30 minutes and tell them where they are with anything? Wow, that's powerful. So the reason I tell you this is that because we spend a lot of time planning for vacation. If someone's engaged, they spend years planning for the wedding, the reception. We plan for retirement. We plan to have kids. We get the room ready. We get the car seats. We start the 529 plans. We do all the things to do. One of the things that we know for sure is that we will die. And if we know this, why aren't we planning for it? So I believe that legacy succession planning is one of the greatest parting gifts that you could leave your loved ones. It is also a gift that you could leave with them as a peace of mind. Them knowing your plans, them knowing who you are is a gift. And I want us to talk about this gift, and I want to make this more of an empowering conversation and engaging conversation. Before I begin this journey, I always start my talks with saying the serenity prayer. So God grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So this was written by a theologian from Detroit a long time ago in the 1930s during the Great Depression, where there was poverty, unemployment. He wanted to give people hope. We tend to focus on the things that we cannot change and not focus on the things that can make a difference, that we actually can be empowered to make that change to do. We can have the conversation. We can write things down. We can organize our lives so that our loved ones, our children, our spouses, our partners know things about us that they would not have known unless we told them. Again, good morning. My name is Shewonia Roberts. I am a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm an aunt, I'm a niece, I'm a cousin, and more importantly, I'm a friend. And I am an advocate for legacy succession planning. I was born in Mississippi. There were 6 of us, my mother, my father, my older sister, then me, my brother, and my younger sister. In Mississippi, my father had multiple jobs, and he had a side hustle. It wasn't called side hustle at the time. He owned a little convenience store, you know, ones that you get gas and you can run and get bread or milk. And I would work with my father. I'm a daddy's girl. I would work with my father during the summertime. I had the 3 to 7 shifts, and he paid me $5 an hour, and I thought that was a lot of money at the time. And I would learn from him how to talk to people, how to be a friend, how to listen. But I also learned from that process improvement. I would see that during the holiday time, it was time to get more stock on chips, nuts, and peanuts, and things of that nature, because during the holiday, people would invite people over. And my dad really appreciated that, and he loved me for that. So I grew up, went to college. My dad would call me every Sunday at 9 o'clock. And I believe he called me just to make sure I was up and going to church, because he and I taught Sunday school. I taught the smaller kids, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd graders, and my father taught the adults, and then my siblings would meet us for services. And I loved that experience that my dad gave. Like I said, I'm a daddy's girl. And he instilled in me that my name is really important and your image is important, and that's what you have and that's what you take away in life. So fast forward 2019, my father has a severe asthma attack, and he's in ICU for 10 days. I go home with my mother, and I am talking to the physicians, helping her figure out, like, what are we gonna do, what is happening? And my mother and I are talking, and literally every 5 minutes, she would ask me, what time is it? She would say, can we go to the hotel and get the key to the room, because I have to go to the bathroom, and we were in a hospital. And I asked my siblings, hey, have you guys noticed anything different about Mom? She seems to be different, she's talking different, she's asking me the same questions. And they told me, we believe it is that she's stressed. Her husband's in the hospital, he's in ICU, this is really serious, and we believe she's stressed. So being in the hospital, I decided to go see a neurologist, and I asked him, can you see my mother? Is it possible that you could see my mother? She said, I am actually working this weekend on staff, and I could see your mother if you bring her in on Sunday. I took my mother in on Sunday, and for those of you who don't know, like, if you get tested for cognitive decline, they ask you 10 questions, and then they give you alphabets, and then they come back a minute later and ask you to say those again. My mother did okay on that test, and then they did a scan, and they came back and told me that your mother is suffering from cognitive decline. It looks like dementia. So my dad's in ICU. I just find out my mother has dementia. I call my friends and say, hey, listen, this is what's happening. She said, you need to get a power of attorney for both of your parents right now. I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, let's do this. So literally, I'm in the hospital with my computer on the floor in LegalZoom.com, taking passages from a lot of different things to build this power of attorney. I didn't want to because I knew it would be hard for my parents to sign 2 documents, the legal, the financial, and the medical. So I combined them all into one. I called my siblings and said we all should have a conversation with our parents. But the reality is, I should not be deciding who's the power of attorney for my parents. My parents and I should have had that conversation. And I started telling you that I am a mother of 2 daughters. There's no way that I want my children, or even part of your generation, to have to plan something for you without you having that conversation. So my siblings and I got all together and we were trying to decide who would be the power of attorney. Nobody wanted the job. Imagine that. Nobody wanted the job. And my time is limited here. Like, I was like, we gotta do this, we gotta do this. So I decided, okay, I'll do it. Then my sister said, well, I'll do it. Then my other sister said, well, I'll do it. Then my brother said, and I'm like, we all can't be power of attorney. I'll take one other person. So I took my older sister and me. And we both are co-power of attorneys for my dad and my mother. My dad gets out of ICU. He goes to rehab. We have this meeting with our parents. And again, I grew up in Mississippi. My grandparents were sharecroppers. They did not want to give up control. They did not want to give up that ownership. They felt like they were losing something and not winning. So we had to convince them that this was in the best interest. If anything happened to mom, dad, you would cover her. But if anything happens to you and mom, we got you. If anything happens to dad, mom, we got you. We had to relay that over and over again. We're not going to take your finances. We're not going to go into your account. However, in the event that something should happen, we have this document so that we can support you. They signed the document. I had a notary outside the hospital room, and we moved forward. But in that moment, I was resistant to life changing because there are other steps that I needed to do that I should have done that I did not do. So I went back to my home with my kids, living my life. In 2021, I get a phone call from my sister, and she says to me, he didn't make it. My dad passed away, and I knew exactly what she was talking about. She didn't say anything, she didn't need to say anything else. So I immediately called the hospital. Something said call the hospital. Not that I didn't believe my sister, but I just needed to hear somebody else say that. So they told me the story. They got a call around 8:45 a.m. They tried to resuscitate him at 9:05. They declared him dead. When I say I resisted doing things, other things, I resisted having a conversation with my mom and dad to say, where do you want to live? How do you want to live? What can we do to help you? What support do you need? What are all your bills? What is coming into the house? I resisted all of that because, again, I was fearful, I was scared. And I go back to the serenity prayer, wisdom. The wisdom to start, the wisdom to know and do things differently. So my parents both have mobile phones. I didn't know who their carriers were. My mother didn't need a phone because she didn't remember to plug it in. She would always lose it. And of course, my dad didn't need his phone. So I needed to disconnect their phone services. I called and said, I have the death certificate. I want to disconnect both phones. They said I couldn't do it because I was not on the account. My mother and father had auto draft, so that phone bill was getting paid every month, whether they were using it or not. So then I called again as my mother. I'm not telling you to do this, I'm just sharing my story. So I called as my mother saying I wanted to disconnect the account. They told me, you are not on the account. It was only in my dad's name. So I was like, okay. I said, well, did he have a password that you can authenticate me? She said, yes. I said, okay, well, did he have a clue? Because, I'm trying to figure this out because I needed to disconnect this phone. And they said, yes, the clue is favorite artist. I said, Sam Cooke. My daddy's girl, it was right. So I was able to disconnect the phone. But little things like that, as you think about your life, as you think about if anything happens to you, if you're in the hospital, if you're incapacitated for a short period of time, who are the people that know these little things about you that can help you manage not only your bills, but your physicians. I didn't know any of my parents' physicians. I didn't know their names. I didn't know the portal address. So to give my mother the care that she needed and she couldn't tell me, I had to just call around and ask. And that is not what I wanted for my kids. And this is why I started this journey. It's not because I think this is a great thing. It's because I actually lived this experience. So then I'm trying to find the deed to the house, the title to their cars, their insurance policies, like all of these things I had to dig through and find. So I started with this, like, why is it that we have this conversation, but we are not talking to anyone about this? So I realized that I was no longer a daughter, but I was a caregiver. I was an advocate. I was a decision maker for my mother. And I just wasn't someone's child anymore. I was an adult with really adult issues and problems that I needed to resolve. I started this journey with my girlfriend who does a project called the Sunrise Project. She has a podcast she does on every Sunday, and I talk to people about my story, and I share with them how to make this more of an empowering conversation, but more importantly, how to chronicle the things that your loved ones would need to know and how to have the conversation. I wrote this book because I started documenting what I needed to do for my mother. I talked about the physicians. The other thing is behaviors, her habits and patterns. If anybody's going to care for her, they needed to know her patterns. My mother gets up at 7 o'clock every morning. It's not that she's sick or ill, it's just who she is. Like, you needed to know this. My mother drinks coffee black. She doesn't want sugar, she doesn't want cream. Like, if someone's going to care for you, have you given the instructions or information on how that care looks and what that care should look like? I realized that my father's death, like I said, I was resistant. I realized that there was more for me to do, but I didn't have the courage. I lacked the courage to have a conversation. And to be honest, my parents lacked the courage to have the conversation with us. If you get anything from me from this conversation today, just think about your life and where you are. Do the right people know what they need to know about you? Do they have the information that they need to have? So one of the things I do with my daughters, I track them. And I'm not tracking them to follow them, but I track them just to know where they are. So if anything happens to them, I can say to the police, her phone last pinged here. So think about those things that you do in your life and who are the people that should have that information. Again, I said to you, the power of attorney. My siblings and I should not have been making the decision of who my parents wanted to have financial and medical power of attorney. That should have been their call. They should have said to us, hey, Shewonia, we want you to manage the financial aspects of everything. And then, oh, by the way, Cassandra, you have the medical. But I was left making that decision. And I didn't want my daughters to have to make that decision for me. So in my guide, it starts off you telling your stories. Who were you when you were a child, elementary school, middle school, high school? Why did you decide the trajectory that you decide? Why did you come here to Charlotte? Who are you really? And then it sets you up to track your behaviors, your habits. What do you want for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Again, if someone's to care for you, they need to know who you are and what you like. I also ask you to document the bills that you pay. If you are paying bills that are auto draft every month, and you no longer want those bills to be paid, like my mother's phone bill and my father's phone bill, who would know that? And then who is listed on the account to help you shut things off or pause them if needed? So these are important aspects. The guide is about life. It's the peace that we give to those we love. So think about, it's not the day you die, it's really the day after, and what your loved ones are going through. I was grieving my father, but at the same time, I was managing chaos. And I know that's not the experience my father would have wanted us to have. So I say to you today, think about legacy succession planning. Think about what you have. Is it documented? Where is it? Who has access to it? So again, it was not just losing my father and my mother being diagnosed with with dementia. I wanted to honor them in a way that was reflective of their life, but also reflective of them as my parent. Love is clarity, love is conversation, and love is preparation. And this is what this guide is all about. I believe legacy is what we prepare people to have. And sometimes we think of legacy as the money that we leave behind, but it's the memories. It is the activities. It is the events. It is the photos. So think about that in that way. I believe that elder life planning is legacy planning. And again, legacy is not just what you leave behind, it's the preparation that you give for others. Today is not about death, it's about living in intention. It is about living your best life for the rest of your life and having people to understand what that means and looks like for you. I want my children to inherit not just my belongings, but I want them to inherit clarity and purpose. The opposite of clarity is not clarity. And legacy everyone can leave behind. So as you look at the book and think about it, the story is about your life and what you want others to know about you. Any questions, comments?
We're going to start you off easy.
Okay.
Where did you grow up in Mississippi?
A really great question. So if you guys saw Sinners, it was in a place called Cleveland, Mississippi. So I lived the next city over called Indianola, Mississippi. And it's actually the home of B.B. King. So that's where I grew up. And I see the HBCU hat on. I went to Tuskegee University for graduate. Yes, absolutely.
Mike.
Okay. Good morning. Good morning. Okay, now, are you talking about set up a will thing with someone there, or are you talking about a trust? Are you which two? Are you talking about both of them, or we should be looking more toward developing a trust versus doing it by way of a will?
So that's a really good question. I know 2 weeks ago you had someone to talk about legal documents. So succession planning, legal aspect is only a third of this. So your trust is, and your will is who gets the house, who gets your accounts, your insurance policy. Like it's more financial. What I am talking about are the other things. Like if you are incapacitated, who's your electricity, your gas, your car insurance, like who is responsible for paying those things if you are unable to do that? I talk about your behaviors and habits. What are those behaviors and habits? Your medical history. Someone needs to know your medical history if they are to speak for you and have your medical power of attorney to talk to your doctors. Who are your doctors? Do your loved ones know who your doctors are? Do your loved ones know the medication that you take and how often? So yes, legally, your wills, your trust, your power of attorney, your HIPAA, all of those things are uber important, but it is only a third of managing your succession plan, your legacy. So yes, what I'm talking about goes beyond the will, or a trust, or your power of attorney, or your HIPAA. Thank you for asking that.
James.
Good morning. My name is Jasmine. I'm a community organizer. I am curious. I am not a parent by any means. You mentioned you're a mom. I'm curious, how old are your daughters, and what age are you having these conversations, or what's the youngest, rather, you're having these succession planning conversations with young adults or children?
That's a really great question. Thank you. So I have a 22-year-old and a 25-year-old. And my conversations with them are not about, okay, if anything happens to your mother, do this and this. They're just natural conversations. So my oldest is working. And I just asked her, I said, on your 401k plan, who do you have as a beneficiary? Like, I have conversations like that, and I say, here's the importance of having a beneficiary in the event that something happens. Of course, she's 25, and she's like, well, what's going to happen to me? But you never know. So, and then I also tell them, if we're at dinner, we just have conversations. you know, because we're all on the same phone bill, you know AT&T is our cell phone provider. And if you need the password, I have it here. So I don't necessarily say, because it's a jarring conversation to tell your kids if anything happens to your mother or your father, and they don't want to hear that. But what they do want to hear is, oh yeah, I do need to add a beneficiary to my bank account. Oh, I do need to add a beneficiary to anything else that I have. Oh, by the way, my account for my gas, my electric is so-and-so, and maybe I should add my sister, or she should at least know who that is. So I have conversations with them just about those types of things. Have you documented? Is it written? I talked to you about, I mentioned I track them. So I track both my kids and they track each other. And it's just a part of this process of legacy succession planning because you never know when something could happen. But for my aunts and uncles, because I lost my father, it is a different conversation. I am asking them, have you talked to your children about how you want to live? Do you want to live in place? Do you want to go somewhere else, like an older community, a 55 plus community? Or do you want to stay with one of them? Have you thought about that? Have you talked to them about your physicians? Who do you see? Have you shared with them your medical information? So it's a different conversation, but my children, I don't go into that detail. I just ask them questions. But my aunts and uncles, I'm more saying, have you done this? Where are you with this?
Dr. Penn.
Good morning, good evening, good night. It is I, Dr. Penn. The stories I'm hearing now is like the stories I'm beginning to tell my adult children. Because when my son had a heart attack almost, or open heart surgery, now I'm trying to do the planning for him too, in a sense. Because it's not just about, because I'm thinking that my kid's supposed to take care of me, but now I'm beginning to take care of them. So now I've already started my own planning, even kind of document how I want the funeral to go. I want who I want if they're still alive, you know. So I'm doing those kind of plannings. But now I like also for people to start talking about the planning for the siblings and the children too, because that's important too. I'm not sure if you're into that part or not.
Okay, that's a really good point. And to your question, the guide in here also asks those types of things about your service. Who do you want to do the poem, the psalms, the prayer? Like, how do you want to be dressed? I've talked to several people, and if you don't give them the information, like I buried my father not knowing what he wanted. Now my dad was dapper, you know Dapper Dan, my dad was Dapper Dad. Always had on a fedora, always had on a suit and tie. One of the things that jarred me during this experience is, how do I dress my father? Am I doing the right, am I honoring his wishes on what that looked like? So in the guide, it walks you through questions and prompts so that people know exactly your wishes and what you want. So a lot of times people think this planning starts at 50, 55, 65, and in reality, this planning process should start whenever you want to start, 21, 25, 26. Like you said, your son had a heart attack and you thought he would take care of you, not the reversal. And we don't know how life would happen. Again, I go back to the serenity prayer. The wisdom to know the difference. We know, but through other people's experiences, that life happens and you need to be prepared no matter what age you are. So I have had situations like that. I've had people to talk about it. And you asked the questions about my daughters. They know that I have this. They know that it is in a protected, waterproof, fireproof container with all of my information. And I encourage them to do the same. So if I need to take care of them, who is your doctor? Like if my daughter who lives in New York City got sick today, I at least know 2 of her physicians. And so you just want that information. Yeah, this is a jarring conversation. Yeah, it is hard, it is challenging, but life is hard and life is challenging. And I started the conversation, we do the planning process. If we're getting married, in 2 years we're planning, meeting with people. We do the planning process if we're having a family reunion. We're doing the planning process if someone decides to give birth, but we're not putting the time and attention needed to our exit strategy.
Okay.
In sports, we have a starting lineup, and then we have the second team. With all of the people that you have listed that need to know who, what, when, where, why, and how, what are your thoughts on having also secondary persons in the event the very person that you thought was going to be in charge has a traumatic experience and is unable to perform or actually even dies?
Right. That's a really great question, especially with FIFA, Wimbledon, like all the sports activities that are going on in the world right now. So here's the thing, one of the things I didn't share, I told you I had 3 siblings. Family dynamics is real. When you get married, when someone dies, you see true colors of individuals that you thought were by your side and that you knew. So I believe in the power of what ifs. So if I get sick, injured, you know, it goes to my siblings, it goes to my kids, like I have statements, and you need to really think about this. This is why when I said to you, I should not have been making that decision for my parents. You need to make the decision for you. Who should be responsible for your medical care? If your do not resuscitate says, do not resuscitate me, which of your children, your loved ones, your aunts and uncles will truly honor and behold your documentation? Those are the things that you need to do. And then you have a backup plan. If anything happens to that person, here's who's next. And you also think about marriages and separations. If somebody is married and you give this power of attorney to your son-in-law, brother-in-law, and something could happen, you need to think about the backup. What should happen in the event? That's why these things need to be updated and thought about yearly. Like when the new year comes around, we do these New Year's resolutions. Do your legacy succession planning, because things happen, people change. So yes, I believe in secondary, I believe in a tertiary, I believe in all of those things, because life changes, people change, you change, the behaviors change. So one of the things I didn't share with you, so after my father passed away, my neighbors would say my mother would walk across the street and write checks to them. And of course, my neighbors, I grew up there, they were my neighbors since I was 2. They would call me and say, we ripped a check up. So we got her some help. We got a full-time nurse to come in to watch her. But my mother could not live by herself. She could not drive. She didn't remember to eat. Like when I tell you about this disease, Alzheimer's, it is real, it is sickening, and it hurts. So my siblings and I had to get together and say, what are we going to do? Nobody wanted to take my mother in. Nobody wanted. When I say family dynamics is real, family dynamics is real. I lived in New York City in a 3-bedroom apartment. There was no way I could bring my mother to that chaotic environment at that time. I lived in New York City at that time. And so I had to make a decision. How do I give my mother the care and feeding that she desired and that is required of us to give her? And so I flew home to Mississippi. I looked at 3 facilities, memory care facilities. I interviewed all 3 of them. I decided on one of them. And I told my siblings, I'm moving my mother in on Sunday. I need you to meet me here. So when I say that, what does living your best life for the rest of your life looks like? I really mean that. If anything happens to you, how do you want to live? Is your expectation that your child will take you in, your aunt, your sister will take you in? Is the expectation that you have the finances to go into a facility and be cared for? This is the time to start thinking and planning for these things, because life truly happens.
Okay, I have a question. My question is, how we've had some conversation not only about the trust and the wills, but about insurance and younger people getting on the right track at an early age, in preparing for their future. Now, in your guide, do you have anything for if you really want to start? I know you mentioned it with the young kids, how do you approach that? Is that a part of your guide on how you start? I know you said you already talking and sharing with your young the adults. How do you start with them? If they're the youngest that you can start, some type of education about what they are to do. And just for instance, if there are a couple of kids in a home and they only have one parent and something happened to that parent and they're young, is there any guide in there on how you would present something to a younger child?
That's another great question. While the guide does not cover specifically insurance and life insurance, it does ask you specific questions. What have you done? Again, I'll just share my story. My mother has dementia. My mother's mother had dementia. My mother's mother's siblings had dementia. For me, I think my path would be similar. So I have long-term care insurance. I started 5 years ago with long-term care insurance because I don't want my kids to be burdened financially to care for me. If they don't want to move me in with them, I'm fine with that because I am making the financial plans that I can go somewhere where I am financially covered. It's not coming out of their pocket. So I'll just give you that story. But one of the things that I talk to my kids about or to children about, I talked about the 401k plan, which is really important. I talked to my children about insurance, life insurance, especially if it comes with your job. You should sign up for that. But there's whole insurance, there's term life insurance. Please speak to professionals about that because it's really based on what can you do monthly, what can you do every 6 months, what can you do yearly. But I advise you, again, how do you want to live the best life for the rest of your life? And as we see right now in the economy, insurance, interest rates, everything is getting higher and higher. So what is your loved one's ability to care for you? And you also have to realize being a caregiver is emotionally and mentally challenging and exhausting. So do you want to put that on your kids and do they want to put that on them? So you need to consider life insurance. You need to consider insurance to help you live, again, the best life for the rest of your life.
Good morning. My question is this. Do you suggest that you find people that may be outside of your immediate family to be your power of attorney just because of the mental pain that they could be put through, having to be the one to make the decision whether they keep you or let you go?
A really good question. So everybody is different. Again, you know the people that you want to give this power to. You are the best person to do that. But keep in mind that you can change your mind. You can change those documents. It just has to be notarized and dated that this is the new change. I don't have a recommendation either way. I just sense in your heart, again, have the courage and the wisdom to discern who is the best person. For me, my kids are young, so I have an executor. I have said to them, you go to this executive to help you execute what we believe is your mother's plan. So that's how I did it. And my executors are my friends that I've known for like 40 years and know me. And we actually talk about these things because we're going through the same experience. So I have real live conversations. So if this person that you're talking about, if you're having honest conversations with them, then think about that. But you also have to be a part of the equation. You have to tell people, honestly, this is what I want, this is what I need. And they have to believe that this is what you want.
Alright. So there is a financial power of attorney and a medical power of attorney. Do you have to do both of them separate, or is there a power of attorney that's all encompassing under one?
So I'm not a legal attorney, but when I did go get my documents done, my attorney recommended that I do them separately. But remember, I made my own documents because my dad was in ICU, and I literally just found out my mother had cognitive decline. So I went to LegalZoom and combined them. But I also knew that convincing my parents to sign something twice would be difficult. Convincing them that this is the right thing to do would be challenging. So if I had to do it one time with one document, I knew I could seal the deal. So that was my reasoning to combine them. Now again, my parents were in the state of Mississippi, and that was acceptable. Each state governs differently on what you need and what is required. In Charlotte, I had to have a medical and I had to have a financial.
So I'm a 25-year notary, and I do a lot of power of attorneys and a lot of wills. And when my son he's 20 now, but when he was younger, when I had the life insurance, I broke everything down. He just wasn't getting a lump sum of money. So I kind of like executed when he turned 15 or when he graduated from high school. If I wasn't here, he gets this much. He graduated from college, he gets that much.
Can you raise your microphone up some? I'm sorry.
Okay, so my life insurance was broke down to what I decided he get when he turned high school level, college level, and when he graduated. So now he's 20. I don't have an overseer. So I've had a conversation with him about what I wanted, how things was gonna go, what he needed to pay off. It's kind of broke down in stages, especially when you have life insurance, because you don't want to give kids $50,000 at one time. So I kind of like, my advice to people when I do their wills, when they have little small children, to break it down on the different levels of how much they can get, when they can get it. It's different stages, like you said, from when they're kids and then when they graduate. So now he's the kind of overseer of everything. So,
It's for our online audience.
Okay, so did y'all hear how okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, and she raised a really good point. The age of the people that you put in place matters. Their maturity matters, so think about that. But more importantly, she updated it regularly because he was 20, 25, like the age change. This is why I say you should do this annually. And if you can, more frequently than that, is also important. The other thing that I talked about was the what ifs. She talked about the wills. So you have to think about, I was married and divorced. So my divorce name is not Roberts. So if you give somebody rights to something and they say Shewonia, my previous name, they're gonna ask me for documentation to prove that I'm that person. But my name changed. So you have to think about those things too. If someone gets married and you have them as their maiden name, but they change their name to their married name, you have to change that documentation. The name on your documents has to match their legal documentation, their passport, their driver's license, their ID, whatever it is. So that's the other thing to think about. The other thing, when you talk about power of attorneys, I told you I went to my dad, to the bank, but also the physicians. Those documents don't last forever. They term out. So if you are giving someone power of attorney today, let's say 2026, in 10 years past, you need to ask your financial institution, how long is this valid? Is it 5 years? Is it 10 years? Is it 15 years? Is it 20 years? Because you're on top of things. But again, they may say it expires in 10 years. So it's no longer valid. So when you're doing that, ensure that you understand that financial institutions, your medical physicians' timeline, because these documents can expire.
Good morning. Thank you. This is very valuable information. I didn't know who was going to be here today, but I'm glad I'm here, and I'm really glad that my new husband is here, so he can hear this too.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And, because most of the time we think about the death aspect of it and what's going to happen, and not the quality of life that you can have or need to have before, and the people you need to have it in your life. So this, like I said, is very valuable information. I know that with the death, both of my parents are deceased, and we didn't have anything, but it creates fights like cats and dogs over nothing. And even when my mom was a shopper, and she had all these bills, and then when they started coming, my father wanted to know who's gonna pay him, because his name wasn't on anything. So I took care of him. I gave him the cemetery address. So they had to send the bills to the cemetery.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use that.
Yeah, send it there. But I just want to say thank you, because this is very valuable information. And you have a book up there?
I do have a guide. If you're interested, it's $20. It's before I die, but it's also on Amazon, available on Amazon. And I thank you for sharing. So one of the other things when we think about debt, so again, in the planning process, if your spouse is on your credit card, if you guys have a credit card together and something happens to you because he is on that account, that debt is still to be paid. If you put your children on a card, I want you to be thoughtful about this financial legacy planning. If anything happens to you, what else goes to your loved ones? So you raised a really good point about your dad saying he's not on the account, who does it, and I'm gonna give it to the cemetery. My father, again, just sharing my story, I'm not saying that you should try this or not, but it worked for me, so I'm sharing. My dad had medical bills. I called the physician and I said, listen, my father passed away and I am unable to pay this bill. They said, send me the death certificate and we will dismiss it. I sent them the death certificate and they waived, I didn't have to pay the fees. I'm not saying that it's gonna work, but it's something that you can try. But usually your loved ones are to pay those things. But like I told you about the phone bill, I was willing to try what I needed to do.
All right, just real quick, high level, because this may have come after your start. We know your story. This is an online question. Just real quick, can you tell the ways you can obtain the power of attorney?
Absolutely. So the number one recommended way is to get an estate planning attorney. Legally, talk to an attorney. But you can also go on LegalZoom.com. There are also the state of South Carolina, state of North Carolina have templates on their website that you can also go to, and they are certified by each state, because again, each state is differently, and you just fill in the blanks. But when it comes to questions and gaining understanding and clarity, like what does it mean, how do I file it, where does it go, where do I keep it, I recommend that you talk to a legal advisor. But you don't have to pay for these services because they are available. If you have the answers to your questions, there are templates available. Again, state of South Carolina, state of Georgia have those documents on their websites, and you take it in, you fill it in, you get it notarized, so it has to be notarized. And you have to retain the original copy. You could give your kids and loved ones a copy, but usually they want the stamped and sealed approval original. Yes?
Mic check, okay. Thank you. We're from Mississippi together. So,
What part?
Brookhaven, just south of Jackson.
Yes.
Yeah. Grandfather's name was Cleveland, by the way. Side story. But what you're talking about, thank you for one, but what you're talking about are like some of the most protected or avoided conversations in our community, right? We're talking about our money, we're talking about our health, our bill of health. As a man, it was very difficult for me to allow my wife to come into the doctor to actually hear what was going on. But that's a hurdle, right? And so from your experience, what are some of the big hurdles that you see that are walls that come up to prevent these conversations that we desperately need to have?
That's a really good question. And again, this is a lived experience for me. And one of the walls is we've been taught to not talk about death because we're putting in the atmosphere and something is going to happen. That's one of the barriers that we need to break down. But also, I think we inherently as a people guard things with our chest, and we don't want to share. We don't want people to know that we're vulnerable. We don't want people to know that we're sick. We don't want people to know that I'm in financial distress. And so those things we have to break down and really make this an empowering conversation. Because I said to you, for your loved ones, it's not the day you die, it's really the day after. Them grieving you and then managing everything that happens that needs to be cared for. So one of the things that I would caution, particularly as we think about this, why can't this just be a conversation that we talk about? Why do we make it so hard and difficult to say the word death and dying and transitioning and passing? Because of all the things that we know that is going to happen, and you can put money on it, we're all going to die. We all know this. But why aren't we thinking and having conversation? And it's just really hard. It was hard for me. And until this happened to my father and I really experienced it, I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta do better. And so I would tell my friends, do your kids know who your physicians are? And they're like, well, why do they need to know that? If anything happens to you, this is why they need to know that. And then they said, you should start writing this down. And I did, and I put it in the sky. Because I want this to be an empowering conversation. I don't want it to be jarring. Particularly, like you said, communities like I don't want us to go to probate. I don't want us to pay money to go to probate. I don't want us putting up a fund to ask for money for the funeral. I want us to think about living our best life for the rest of our lives, and how do we do that financially? How do we do that legally? How do we do that emotionally? Yeah.
Go ahead.
So what I have found out dealing in probate and wills, people change. So I think the will should be, you can take a will to probate and put it there, because I've had incidents when people come back, and they found out, the daughter got the house and the son don't have the house. So what's her real wishes? So I think always when you have a will, put it at probate, because you know that's the natural will, because people create other wills, and it's just a lot going on with that.
Right. So the other thing to that, when she talked about a will, if you put your home in a trust, it automatically goes to the person that you designated to have it. You avoid probate. You just list it, your house is in the trust, your trust is named with the house. Have you had that happen as well? So the trust is the easiest journey to avoid. Susie says she should have the house. No, Mary says she should have it. No, the house is in the trust goes here, and everybody goes to the designation of what the trust says. The other thing that she said, people change. Again, marriages, death, changed people. These conversations about your wishes, in order for your loved ones to better understand what your wishes are, you have to have a conversation with them so that it is not a shock and surprise when they are reading and seeing the terms. The conversations are uber important.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm Danielle. Thank you for being here. This is a really good conversation. So I am a mother of 4. 2 of 4 of my children are 19 and 18, considered legal adults. What documents should I have in place financially or medically should an emergency happen? So while they're off to school, what needs to be in place right now?
That's a really good question. But it's, when they reach 21, you should get a power of attorney for them. You should be their power of attorney. Because after they turn 21, you can no longer make medical decisions for them because they are legal adults.
Oh, but I can't now?
Yes, under 21 you can. So that was a really good point. So my kids are over the age of 21. One lives in New York, the other one lives in LA. I had them immediately give me their medical power of attorney. Because if anything happens to them, I want the doctors to talk to me. I don't want them to make a decision and say, hey, I think this is in the best interest of your daughter. No, we're gonna talk together and we're going to decide collectively what is in the best interest. So over 21 is when you need that. Now, but you also need a power of attorney for you. Okay.
My question is, I want to ask you now, we know that Native Americans they are keen on the way that when their ancestors or their family go to the other side, and some of the, I guess the Vietnamese and the Chinese. Is there a pattern or positive pattern that we as African Americans use to make sure that we prepare them for the end of life, like they do the other races?
So what I have seen recently, the trend is, we call it a celebration of life. And what I'm seeing is most people are doing just that. They are reading poems, they're reading their favorite poem, they're doing songs, they're doing singing, and they want people to be happy about the experience. They show videos and clips, because now in this age of social media and everything digital, they're showing clips of that. So it's not so much of going to the church. It's not so much where you have the casket in front and people walking across the field, but it is a true celebration of life, and people are happy and sharing funny stories. That's one of the things I've seen. I've also seen that people are also going towards cremation, only because it's less expensive. My dad was buried in Mississippi. It was $20,000 for his funeral. It's $5,000 for cremation. So again, as you're thinking about your plans, that is one of the things you want to think about. And I've already told my kids, cremate me. Like, I want, if you, $20,000, put it on a house, buy a car, whatever it is, don't. Because they live in, one lives in New York, one lives in LA. You're gonna bury me in Charlotte, you're not gonna come see me. Like, so think about, again, living the best life for the rest of your life, and what does that look like?
One more question regarding my older children. So the same, I know that what needs to happen for them on the medical side, but on the financial side, I'm on all of their like bank accounts and all those types of things, even insurance for them. But is there an age where they will then have to make me power of attorney over those things as well?
I don't know the answer to that when that happens, but I do want to caution you. Are you a joint owner? Because their debt then will be your debt. Are you on a joint owner as their credit card?
Yes, only because, yes, like, well, no. My oldest son, yes, no.
Okay.
Hold on, I need to check that, thank you.
So check that out. Because if you are a co-owner, that appears on your FICA. Like, his debt is now your debt.
I pay the bill anyway. Going to his phone, I pay that bill anyway.
Okay.
But moving forward, I know how to put things together.
Okay, perfect, perfect.
Okay, are there any other questions? Okay.
So we're picking up where Carlene you left off. We seem to be helping you write your next version of this.
Yeah, and I want to come back. Because you guys asked a lot of your great questions, and I want to come back. But go ahead.
So I know you think I'm 39, but actually I live in an old folks' home.
Do you really?
And when we moved in 18 months ago, the question for the financial advisor was, okay, given our assets, we have 2 apartments we're looking at, and which should we choose? And the guy said, well, I'm not gonna make that decision, but if you, based on your assets and their likely growth, if you move into this one, you're gonna be bankrupt at age 85. And on the other one, you could live till 93. Well, happily, it turned out that we wanted to live in a place where we could live till 93. What am I gonna do at age 94? Well,
live your best life.
That's yet to be determined.
So again, he really made a good point. Like, your financial advisor, or even if you just do a spreadsheet, how long do you think you're gonna live, and how long is the money going to last? So the legal aspect is uber important, but the planning piece, living your best life for the best of life, and how does that look? And taking in consideration inflation, where are you gonna live? All those are uber important. And if 93 is your ballpark, what do I need to have financially to do that? And if I'm gonna live by myself, what does that look like?
So we have another question from online. Thank you so much for the response on the question about how to get a trust. So the person asked, what about their mom putting their name on the deed for the house? Will it go to them, the house, or should they put the house inside of a trust instead?
So that's a really good question. I am going to recommend that they really talk to an estate planning attorney, but I can tell you my story and hopefully that helps. My parents' home was in my mom and dad's name. The deed was in my mother's and father's name. So when my dad passed away, it went to my mother. When I maintained power of attorney for them, we were able to own that home. But again, that was in the state of Mississippi. Every state is different. So again, you need to check with a legal professional because each state is different. I believe if I had had this situation in New York State, it would not have been that way. Just for me, it just worked in the state of Mississippi. But I see somebody has a better answer and response to that. Did you want to talk to that?
Yes. So what I've learned about
Because she signed a lot of legal documents and has a little more experience.
We don't have the ad hoc advice today, and also we want to get you on microphone so everybody online can hear you too.
So what I learned about the wills, if you don't have a will in North Carolina, it goes to probate. And they can actually sell the house because by you not having a will or something in place, they don't know who the house belongs to. They don't understand, they don't know, the courts don't understand or don't know who the house is supposed to go to. If it's 5 kids, that means they have to sell the house and split the proceeds because they just don't know. So everybody needs a will or a trust because in North Carolina, they will sell the house in probate because they just don't know where the proceeds should go to.
Really great question. For the person that's online, I started the conversation talking about AI. You can literally put a prompt into AI and say, I live in the state of this. I want to better understand how to hold title to my home in the event that my parents or I pass away. And they will give you a litany of things that you could do before you go to the state attorney. Ask AI, ChatGPT, Claude, any Copilot, any of those, they will give you an answer. Put that prompt in and be very, very specific.
Okay, Jay.
So, hey, thank you for being here. My name is Jay Hill. My question is, what would be your advice? Hopefully you can help me with this. With hard-headed, grown, senior citizen children that won't listen, and it's hard to get them to understand the importance of all of the things that you're talking about as they are getting older in age, and we're trying to help them with these preparations.
That's a really good question because my kids still give me a hard time today, and I talk to a lot of people about this. Lived experience is really the best example. And I tell them stories of friends, family members, this happened, and this is what they had to deal with, and this is why I'm sharing with you. But I also ask them questions. Hey, if I was in a hospital, what would you do? Would you know where to go? Because then it gets them thinking about being in that situation and what is it that they would need to know and do. So again, I share stories, but I also ask them questions. Older people, yes, because here's the thing, they don't want to lose control. That is what I've learned from my parents. I am the parent. I taught you, I raised you, and now the roles are reversed. What's that saying? Twice a child.
Once a man, twice a child.
Once a man, twice a child. So they really don't understand that. I had to live in their reality. And I would say, you're right, but what if? What happens if this? So then ask them questions to get them to think about it. But it's very challenging because they don't want to lose the control.
Okay, Lorenzo.
Thank you again. And I just wanted to add to that will and trust conversation. So we have to recognize what a will actually is. It's a legal document. If you have a will, you are directing it to go to probate, and then probate will discern or make a decision on what the contents of that will is. The trust holds the asset, right? So think of it as the basket that holds the asset outside of probate. Will other directions, and then the probate holds it. That's all I really want to aim.
So that's a really good point. So I don't know. I'm gonna share my story because I've been sharing a lot here. My home is in my trust. In my trust are directions of what should happen because I don't want it to go to probate. I don't want my kids to spend any more money unnecessarily to deal with anything else. So think about that. Kind of, again, living your best life for the rest of your life. But talking to others and asking them, I know we don't want to talk about and share, but you learn valuable information from other people's experiences. And this thing that we call AI is extremely helpful in helping you discern what you should do and how you should best manage it. But it also gives you questions to ask if you're going to talk to a professional, a financial advisor, or an estate attorney. Be curious about this. And by the way, like my garbage disposal wasn't working. I know this is off topic. I took a picture of it and I put it into AI and I said, can you help me fix this? They said there's a little red button underneath that you need to push to restart it. I'm telling you, I have AI everything. I have AI everything.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
We have a little AI funny in here with us this morning. Thank you so much. Do we have any other questions?
Yes, we have another question.
I forgot my question, I'm sorry. I thought it was an important one. Age. I did, my grandson was here. My grandson is 15 and I actually talked to him about all of this all the time.
Oh my goodness.
You know, and I show him where my stuff is and my children know, but I tell him too, you know.
And so that's a really good point because if you are raising your child to do this, this becomes a habit. And then they tell the next generation that tells the next generation that tells the next generation. So it is my hope that my kids will tell their next generation and that this is an empowering conversation and not a hurtful conversation. So that's a really great point.
I have a question. If your children are all under 21, do you still place these things in their power or do you go to someone outside of it?
Again, for everyone, we have kids that are very mature and wise, and you have some kids that are not mature and able to manage this. You have to decide. I can't tell you which direction to go. You have to decide. And I think if it's that you want your children to have ownership, think about that executor lane that can help them make these decisions, or think about your financial advisor or planner or someone that can say, hey, here's the path you can take. You do A, B, or C, but your dad was thinking or your mother was thinking these are the things that are best for you. So you have to look at and know your children, their maturity level, their wisdom, how easily they can be influenced to do something different, if that's what you decide to do.
Yeah, Shay?
Can you say the name of your book, but please hold it up so everyone knows what we're referencing?
Definitely. So the guide is called Before I Die. It is available on Amazon. If you just type in Before I Die, look for the one with the orange cover. There's several books out there with a similar theme, but it's Before I Die. I do have them available here if anyone's interested. Thank you.
Okay. Let's give her a round of applause. I'm sorry, Ken has a question.
At 77 years old, I
You look
consider.
amazing.
I do think. See what happens when you got teeth. At 77 years old, I have concluded through a mix of conversations and encounters with young people like Jelani Hill and others under 40. And what you talk about is something that I consider that my generation has greatly failed in, and that is passing along stuff that our parents may have even failed in. So for me, it's extremely invigorating to hear young people like you and the others who came through here about a week ago to talk about this related topic. So my question is, how do you rate on a scale of 1 to 10 being able to affect and tell your story to others, let's say 45 and others?
So that's really challenging and difficult because again, people think at the age of 45, I'm at the prime of my life and what's gonna happen and I need to do this. But then I share my story and that gets people to think. And I also share stories of people who were under the age of 45 who even lost a child or lost a spouse and what the enormity of that experience did to them because they didn't have the proper documents. So I do share stories so that they can better understand the experience and what it means and how it feels. There's a couple movies that I provide to people that talk about this. I don't know if you guys saw Samuel Jackson, Ptolemy Gray. I guess it's an excellent example. He has dementia and it talks about all the things that he's doing from a planning process to help people learn. There are also podcasts that I give to people to listen to that helps.
I have one more question before we finish this. What do you suggest in the sense of parents that don't and are unwilling, because I've heard that quite a bit, don't want to relinquish that power? What do you suggest in the sense of children just want to put policies on their parents or their uncles or aunts or cousins? What do you suggest about that?
So that's a tough one. I knew from my parents having all of their kids in agreement would make that conversation easier for them. So all four of us had to be present and have that conversation with them. But sometimes you also, like you said, you have to do what's necessary legally to ensure that everything that they've worked really hard for is preserved. And even if it takes them talking to a friend, them talking to an advisor, and helping them understand, not hearing it from you, but another source would also be something I offer. And like I said, friends and family who have experienced something that can talk to them. But it's really hard, that loss of control, which is, like you talked about, is a generational thing. And I don't want my generation to put that same stigma on their kids, because I want their kids to be open. And one of the financial advisors that I talked to had said that people with money, and I'm talking about the 1% population of people who have the wealth in this world, they are having conversations with their children at 15 about these things. They are preparing them at the age of 15 to come into this world, really to own their legacy and be prepared to manage it. And we have to do a better job and not be shamed about having these conversations with our children and our loved ones.
Okay, once again, thank you so very much. And she said she has the guides that are available. I certainly will be picking up one today, even though we've heard about the trust and the wills, and I have my little stuff written out for my family, but not in the details that you have shared this morning. I hope you all have enjoyed this and will take a lesson from what she shared with us this morning. But at this time, we want to allow you to give a closing statement, and we're going to take announcements.
So in conclusion, I just hope my story resonated with you. I hope you understand kind of the urgency, you being either a child or a parent, how important this information is and how important these conversations are. And so I hope this urges you to take the next step. Maybe you don't do it today, but tomorrow, but you have it somewhere in your calendar. I need to write down my medical physicians. My kids need to have the portal, just like now everybody has a portal. And you gotta do everything by portal. And they can see what medications you take, who the physicians are, to make daily notes. So I hope I've given you information and empowered you to take the next steps. Thank you so much for the invite, and I really appreciate the time.
Okay, now we will take announcements.
Really quickly, how can people get a hold of me? I will give information to put on the site, but really quickly, I'm on LinkedIn as Shewonia Roberts. My personal email address is mypartinggift, mypartinggift, no 2 G's, just 1 G, at gmail.com. mypartinggift@gmail.com. Thank you.
Okay, so now we're gonna go around with announcements. Jay's gonna be first. If you just throw a hand up really quickly, I'll see you, and you don't have to hold your hand, I got you, and I'll come around.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jay Hill. Tomorrow we will have the 2nd anniversary of the Power Mixer. Please RSVP to come through tomorrow. The theme is culture in Charlotte. It will be a wonderful time at Camino Community Center. You can RSVP for free at thepowermixerclt.com. Thank you.
All right, coming around the room.
All right, while he's getting there, you can always go to cmlibrary.org, and under research and learn, you can type in Gale or legal, GALE, or legal forms. They have templates for powers of attorneys and other documents specifically for North Carolina. That is cmlibrary.org.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Golden, campaign manager for Congresswoman Adams. We have actually three canvases coming up in North Charlotte and in Mint Hill, trying to turn out the vote for the upcoming election. It's only 16 weeks away. Early vote is 13 weeks away, and we want to make sure we can get as many people out to vote as possible, especially with the Republicans trying to push the SAVE Act. It's critical that we show up. If you're interested in canvassing, knocking on doors in North Charlotte and Mint Hill, please come and talk to me, and I would be glad to sign you up.
Go ahead, Ken.
On yesterday, developer Sean Kennedy and his development team did a walkthrough at the historic Excelsior Club site, and the purpose of that was to determine things that might be salvageable, and ultimately, during the demolition and afterwards, there will be items available for those of you who may want to have, as I have coined it, own a piece of history. So stay tuned, and we'll keep the board informed about when that would actually happen. He hasn't set the actual date, but the bulldozer is on the site.
Yeah. All right, and to reiterate requests from online, her book, Ms. Roberts' book is Before I Die, and it can be obtained on Amazon.com.
Any more announcements? Anyone?
On Sunday, Sunday coming, the 19th, I believe, of this month, we're gonna have a Dr. Stephanie Hands that will be sharing information about the Voting Right Act at Memorial Presbyterian Church, which is at 2600 Batesford Road. And her presentation will begin approximately at 12:15 after the service. You're invited to attend the church, which we start at 11 o'clock. Our temporary pastor is Reverend Reggie Tuggle. And after his service, she will be presenting at Memorial Presbyterian Church, 2600 Batesford Road. Yes, Sunday coming, the 19th. Any other announcements? Thank you all for coming. We're here every Tuesday. Next week, do we have the schedule for next week? Steve, do you know? Okay, and sometimes we don't know, we don't get the confirmation or get all the information until that Monday, like we did on yesterday, with the clarification of everything. So even though she has shared the information with us, we want to make sure that you continue to come. We appreciate you coming. And of course, you know, we'll have a good speaker for you on next week as well.